Love, destiny, and the deeper questions. Let me ask you something, not as a teacher or a guru, but as one human being quietly reaching out to another, in the gentle space where we all wrestle with the mysteries of the heart. Have you ever sat alone, maybe in the soft hush of morning, a cup of coffee warming your hands, and wondered, why this person? Why this path? Out of billions of people in the world, what force brought you and your partner together? And if you've spent many years on your own, maybe the question feels even heavier. Why am I still walking alone? Is it simply bad luck, or is there something more subtle at play? As we grow older, our view of love often shifts. The innocent certainty of youth fades, and with time, the questions grow quieter but deeper. We look back at the roads we chose, the relationships that grew, and those that slipped away. We notice how joy and pain weave together, and we begin to ask ourselves, was it all just chance, or is there a hidden pattern connecting it all? Today, I want to invite you into a different way of seeing, one rooted in the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Buddhism teaches that love is not random. The people we are drawn to and those who drift away are not simply accidents of fate. Instead, every connection, every bond, every moment of intimacy is touched by karma. Now, karma is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean here? In its simplest sense, karma is the law of cause and effect. The energy of your actions, intentions, and even your deepest feelings ripples forward, sometimes not just through this life, but across lifetimes. Every choice, every moment of kindness or hurt, every longing leaves a subtle imprint that shapes what and who you attract. So, when we talk about love, Buddhism invites us to look beyond the surface. That marriage, that friendship, even the heartbreak or the long seasons of solitude, none of it is purely coincidence. Love, in this perspective, is a kind of mirror. It reflects back the unfinished business of the soul, the deaths and blessings we carry, the lessons we need to learn, and the healing we haven't yet completed. Maybe you've noticed it too. Some relationships feel easy, like breathing. Others are full of struggle, like we're being asked to face the very parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid. Sometimes we love fiercely and lose. Sometimes we're left wondering if we'll ever find our person at all. But here's the gentle truth Buddhism offers. None of these experiences are punishments, and none are rewards. They are opportunities. Opportunities to understand ourselves more deeply, to heal wounds that may have started long before this life, and to grow into the people we're truly meant to become. Imagine for a moment that your partner, whether they're with you now or only in your memories, is not just a random companion. Maybe in another life you traveled together before. Maybe there are old promises, unfinished stories, or deep connections waiting to be understood and healed. And if you're alone, perhaps there's a different lesson, one about learning to love yourself, to find wholeness from within before someone else can join you on the path. When we open ourselves to this perspective, suddenly our personal stories of love and longing start to make a different kind of sense. Instead of seeing ourselves as unlucky or blaming fate for what went wrong, we can start to ask gentler, wiser questions. What is this relationship here to teach me? What am I ready to let go of? What do I need to heal? I know these are not easy questions, but they are questions that lead to real growth and deeper peace. And isn't that what we're really seeking beneath all the searching? Not just a perfect partner or a flawless marriage, but a sense that our journey, every twist and turn, every heartbreak and hope, has meaning. So, wherever you find yourself today, happily partnered, quietly alone, looking back with gratitude or regret, I invite you to listen deeply, with an open heart. Because the truth is, love is never random. It's the mirror that shows us where we are, where we've been, and who we have the chance to become. Let's walk together on this path of understanding. You may find that love has always been inviting you home, not to someone else, but to the deepest, truest part of yourself. Karma and the partner. Why relationships aren't random. Let's go a little deeper. If you've ever wondered why certain people enter your life, or why some relationships feel mysteriously powerful, Buddhism offers an answer that is both humbling and quietly profound. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've known them forever, even if it was just the first handshake or the first glance across a crowded room? Or maybe you've fallen in love so quickly, so intensely, that it almost seemed like destiny was pulling invisible strings behind the scenes. On the other hand, maybe you've experienced the opposite, meeting someone who triggers deep pain, frustration, or even fear in you, yet you can't seem to let go. Buddhist philosophy teaches that these moments are not random. The person you love, the one you marry, even the people who bring you pain, none of it is just coincidence or good luck. Instead, these connections are the result of karma, threads woven through countless lifetimes, shaping who we attract and who is drawn to us. Karma, in its simplest form, is the law of cause and effect. But when it comes to relationships, it's much more than do good, get good. It's about the energy and intentions you've carried and cultivated, not just in this life, but possibly in many lives before. Imagine for a moment that your closest relationships are echoes from the past. Maybe you and your partner were lovers before, or friends, or even adversaries. Maybe you supported each other through hardships, or maybe one of you walked away when the other needed you most. Sometimes the bond you feel is a continuation, a story that was never quite finished. I'm reminded of a couple I met at a meditation retreat many years ago, Helen and James. They'd been married for over 50 years, and when asked about the secret to their lasting relationship, Helen smiled and said, "I think we've done this before." James chuckled, but there was a knowing in his eyes. Their marriage wasn't perfect. There were years when they nearly parted ways. But underneath every conflict, there was a sense of unfinished business, a feeling that their story was bigger than just this lifetime. They described a bond that logic couldn't explain, a debt and blessing that kept calling them back to one another, again and again. In Buddhist thought, relationships like Helen and James are often seen as blessings, the fruit of good karma. Maybe you've noticed couples who just seem to flow together, whose kindness and respect for each other seem effortless. According to this wisdom, such harmony isn't just luck, it's the result of lives spent caring, supporting, and healing each other. But not every relationship is gentle. Some are full of turbulence, conflicts, misunderstandings, or repeated heartbreak. Buddhism teaches that these are not punishments, but karmic debts rising to the surface, asking to be resolved. Perhaps someone comes into your life not to bring happiness, but to help you see old wounds you've never healed. Maybe their presence stirs up insecurities, fears, or patterns you've been carrying for years, maybe even lifetimes. These challenging connections aren't meant to make you suffer endlessly. In fact, Buddhism reminds us that karma is not fixed destiny. It's not a prison. Karma is a mirror. It reflects the energies and lessons you most need to face in order to grow. The purpose of a difficult relationship is often not to break you, but to wake you up, to nudge you towards healing, to help you recognize the places where you're still holding on or the parts of yourself you've neglected. Ask yourself, have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same kinds of partners or why the same painful patterns repeat in your life? What if these patterns are not accidents, but invitations? What if your soul is seeking completion, not just companionship? Here's the empowering part. Karma can be changed. The moment you bring awareness and compassion into your relationships, you start to rewrite those old stories. The bonds of karma begin to soften. Maybe that means learning to love without attachment. Maybe it's about learning to stay present without clinging, or to leave a relationship with understanding rather than bitterness. So, the next time you find yourself in the middle of joy or even heartbreak, pause and ask, what is this relationship here to teach me? What unfinished story am I being invited to complete?
Remember, love isn't just happiness or suffering. It's about awakening. It's about healing. And above all, it's about growing into the fullness of who you were meant to become. In this light, every relationship becomes sacred, a mirror, a lesson, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a blessing carried across lifetimes.
Why some marriages bring deep suffering. Now, let's pause and turn toward a question that so many carry in secret. Why do some marriages, even those that begin with real love, end up bringing so much pain? Is it just a matter of choosing the wrong person or having personalities that don't fit? Or is there something deeper at work, something written beneath the surface of our everyday lives? Buddhist wisdom offers a perspective that goes beyond blame or regret. It suggests that our closest relationships, especially the most challenging ones, are not simply mistakes. Instead, they can be understood as sacred contracts, soul agreements designed to help us evolve, to resolve unfinished karma from the past, and to awaken parts of ourselves that might otherwise remain hidden. Think about this. Each person who walks into your life carries their own invisible history. Your partner brings with them old wounds, silent hopes, ways of loving and defending themselves that were shaped long before they ever met you. And so do you. We all carry expectations shaped by what we saw growing up, scars from what we survived, and sometimes unresolved debts, karmic threads connecting us to lessons we still need to learn. I once met a woman named Judith at a small temple gathering. Her story touched me deeply. Judith had been married for decades to a man who was difficult, withdrawn, and sometimes harsh. For many years, she felt lonely and unseen, questioning why she stayed in a marriage that brought so much suffering. But as she grew older, and as she embraced Buddhist practice, her perspective changed. She realized that her marriage, as painful as it was also her greatest teacher. It was through this hardship that she learned patience, compassion, and, perhaps most importantly, how to truly love herself. "He wasn't the cause of my unhappiness," she told me. "He was the mirror showing me what I needed to heal within myself." Stories like Judith's remind us that the person who triggers the most pain in us is often the one carrying the lesson our soul most desperately needs. The friction and discomfort are not punishments, but invitations to deeper self-awareness. We are asked to face the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, the fears, insecurities, and old stories that quietly shape how we love and how we suffer. But let's be clear, understanding karma is never about justifying abuse or excusing harm. There is no spiritual value in staying in a relationship that is emotionally or physically damaging. Sometimes the lesson karma brings is the courage to walk away, to set boundaries, and to protect your own well-being. In Buddhism, true compassion includes compassion for yourself. Some contracts are meant to be completed by letting go, not by enduring endless pain. For most of us, however, the lessons are more subtle. Our partner becomes a living reflection of our own wounds and gifts. The conflict and harmony between two people are like a dance, always shifting, always revealing new places to heal or grow. When you find yourself in a relationship that feels heavy or endlessly difficult, you might pause and ask, "What is this situation showing me about myself? What patterns am I repeating? What part of me is asking to be seen, understood, or transformed?" These are not easy questions, but they are powerful ones. When you stop running from pain and start listening to its message, you open the door to transformation. Even suffering can become a sacred path if you walk it with awareness. Each moment of discomfort, each argument, each tear, these are opportunities to break free from old cycles, to rewrite the story you're living. So, the next time you feel stuck in a painful marriage, try looking deeper. Is there a lesson your soul is longing to learn? Is there an old wound that needs your attention? And if the answer is yes, know that healing is possible, not because your partner changes, but because you do. You begin to see your relationships not just as sources of pleasure or pain, but as mirrors for your own growth.
In this way, every relationship, no matter how challenging, can become a path of awakening, leading you closer to the person you were always meant to be.
The role of women in transforming emotional karma in marriage. Let's pause and look honestly at a truth many families quietly carry. In countless households, women have long held the role of the keepers of the flame. Mothers, wives, daughters, so often it is the women who hold things together, who soften conflict, who sacrifice their own peace to preserve the family's sense of unity. They may swallow pain, hold back tears, and carry burdens in silence, hoping that patience and endurance will somehow heal what's broken. But from the perspective of modern Buddhist wisdom, this tradition of self-sacrifice is not the only or even the most powerful path to harmony and healing. Instead, the first and most profound act of healing begins within. What if, rather than enduring hurt in silence, more women allowed themselves to truly recognize and honor their own emotions? What if setting healthy boundaries, learning to say no to pain, and tending to one's own wounds was not seen as selfish, but as a courageous and compassionate act for the whole family? Imagine the example this sets, not only for daughters, but for sons and for the generations yet to come. Picture a mother who gently but firmly refuses to accept patterns of disrespect or emotional neglect, who practices self-kindness and who shows her children that it is not weakness but wisdom to care for your own heart. In doing so, she becomes a living lesson. She demonstrates that self-love and compassion are not just words, but living energies that shape the home, breaking cycles of generational pain. It's important to see that when a woman steps out of the victim role, when she chooses forgiveness, when she lets go of bitterness, when she no longer defines herself by old wounds, she is not just freeing herself. She is planting seeds of well-being and emotional clarity for her children, for her partner, and even for ancestors whose stories went unheard. Buddhism teaches us that karma is collective as well as individual. The healing of one person becomes the healing of a lineage. When a woman or anyone in a family decides to change the story, not by hiding pain, but by facing it with mindful awareness and compassion, they become a light in the darkness. The energy of that choice radiates outward, breaking the inherited patterns of silent suffering that may have persisted for generations. So, to every woman who is quietly struggling, carrying too much, or feeling unseen, your courage to heal yourself is never wasted. It is a radical act of kindness that ripples forward and backward through your family tree. And to everyone watching, consider, what patterns have you inherited? How might your healing be the key that finally opens the door to peace for those you love? In the end, the most transformative legacy we can leave is not just a home that looks harmonious on the outside, but a family rooted in honesty, compassion, and the freedom to grow that thrives from the inside out. Cultivating blessings to attract healthy relationships. Let's take a gentle breath and step into one of the most empowering questions on the path of love. Not how do I find the right person, but how do I become the right person? In a world obsessed with searching for that perfect soulmate, Buddhism invites us to look inward first. Who are we beneath all our longing? What kind of energy are we actually bringing into our relationships? In Buddhist tradition, there's a beautiful teaching about blessings, what's called merit. These blessings aren't random gifts from the universe, nor are they simply good luck. They are the invisible fruits of our thoughts, actions, and intentions. Every time you act with kindness, speak with honesty, or let go of resentment, you are quietly planting seeds that shape the quality of love you attract. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to draw nurturing, trustworthy partners into their lives, while others keep finding themselves in the same painful cycles? The difference often lies not in fate, but in energy. Think of it like tuning a radio. If your heart is tuned to the frequency of trust, compassion, and self-awareness, you naturally attract others on that same wavelength. If your energy is tangled up with anger, bitterness, or unhealed wounds, you're more likely to repeat old patterns, no matter how much you wish for something new. There's a story I love about a man named Charles.
For over 20 years after a bitter divorce, he couldn't find a lasting relationship. He'd say, "Everyone leaves," or "Love just doesn't work for me." Underneath his frustration was a heavy weight, old hurts, blame, and regret that he couldn't seem to let go. But things changed when he began to practice forgiveness, not just toward his ex-wife, but toward himself. He wrote letters he never sent, reflected on the ways he too had contributed to the end of the marriage, and gradually let go of the narrative that he was only a victim. It wasn't overnight, but as he released the grip of old pain, something in him softened. Within a year, Charles met someone new, a relationship that was gentle, honest, and rooted in mutual respect. He often said it felt like love could finally rest with him because his heart was finally at peace. The lesson here is subtle but powerful. If we want to attract healthy, loving relationships, we must first create a space within ourselves where love feels safe to land. That means being honest about what we're carrying. Are we still holding on to resentments from the past? Are we judging new people by the mistakes of others? Are we waiting for someone else to fill a void that only self-love can truly heal? Ask yourself, what qualities do you hope to find in a partner? Kindness, patience, honesty, forgiveness. Now turn those questions back on yourself, not as a harsh critique, but as a loving invitation. Am I living with kindness? Am I willing to forgive, even when it's hard? Am I able to communicate honestly and listen deeply? The more we cultivate these blessings, the more our relationships reflect them. And here's the thing, this work isn't just about attracting a partner. It's about becoming someone who brings goodness, peace, and clarity into every connection. When you live with an open heart, generosity, and a willingness to keep growing, you shift your entire experience of love. Old cycles begin to break. New possibilities arise. Sometimes the most radical act of self-love is simply to let go. Release what's heavy. Bless what's gone. Trust that what is meant for you will find you, not because you chased after it, but because you created a life where love feels welcome. As the old Buddhist saying goes, you cannot enter a relationship that is greater than your own blessings. The quality of your heart sets the tone for the love you receive. So rather than searching outward, start planting seeds inward, seeds of compassion, forgiveness, and courage. In the end, the love you seek is also seeking you. Make your heart a home where it wants to stay.
Healing past karma, breaking the cycle. Let's take a quiet moment together and ask an honest question. Have you ever noticed yourself repeating the same emotional story over and over with different people? Maybe you've seen a pattern, being left behind, feeling betrayed, always attracting partners who try to control you, or falling into long stretches of silence and distance. If you look back at the relationships in your life, do you sense a familiar script playing out, almost like you're reliving the same movie with different actors? You're not alone. So many people, especially as we get older, begin to recognize these recurring patterns in love. It's as if no matter how hard we try to choose differently, we end up back in the same emotional place, hurt, disappointed, or longing for more. Buddhism calls this emotional karma, the residue of past experiences and unresolved feelings that quietly shapes our present. The first step toward real change is to notice the pattern. What are the repeating themes in your relationships? Is it abandonment, betrayal, control, or something else? These are not random misfortunes. They are signs that there's a part of your story that's asking to be seen, understood, and finally healed. I once met a woman named Teresa at a meditation retreat in California. She'd been single for nearly 20 years after a deeply painful divorce. Even though she longed for connection, every time someone showed genuine interest in her, she would pull away or find reasons not to let them in. "They remind me of my ex," she'd say, or "it's just not the right time." But as we talked more, it became clear that Teresa wasn't afraid of being alone. She was afraid of being hurt again. Deep down, she was still living with the emotional echoes of her past. For Teresa, the turning point came when she made the courageous decision to face her pain instead of running from it. She practiced forgiveness, not just toward her ex-husband, but toward herself. She let herself feel the sadness, the anger, and the regret instead of pushing it away. She cleaned out old love letters, released mementos that kept her stuck, and even wrote a letter to her younger self, offering compassion and understanding. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but as she cleared space in her heart, she noticed a shift. Within a year, she met someone new, a relationship that was gentle and real, not because he was perfect, but because she was finally ready to love in. So, how do we begin to heal our own emotional karma and break the cycle? Start by gently asking yourself, what am I carrying from the past that no longer serves me? What old pain am I ready to release? Sometimes it's as simple as acknowledging your feelings, giving yourself permission to grieve, or admitting that something still hurts. Other times, it means practicing forgiveness, not to excuse someone else's behavior, but to free yourself from the prison of old resentment. Forgiveness in Buddhism isn't about forgetting or pretending the past didn't happen. It's about liberating your own energy so you can move forward unburdened. Sometimes this looks like letting go of keepsakes that hold you back. Sometimes it's about clearing your emotional space, journaling, meditating, or simply allowing yourself to feel whatever comes up. Write a letter to your past self. Say the things you needed to hear. Bless the journey that brought you here, even if it was difficult. As you do this work, you create space inside for something new. You become more open to healthy, loving connections, not because you're searching for someone to rescue you, but because you are ready to meet love as a whole and healed person. The patterns start to shift. Old wounds lose their power. The cycle breaks, not because life magically changes, but because you have changed. This is the quiet miracle of healing emotional karma. You no longer let the past decide your future. Instead, you step into the present with courage, clarity, and an open heart. And in that space, you give yourself and the people you meet the chance to write a new story, one filled with real connection and genuine peace. Remember, healing doesn't mean erasing what happened. It means carrying the lessons, letting go of the pain, and welcoming the love that is waiting for you now. The healing journey of women, from wounds to freedom. Let's take a gentle moment to shine a light on a journey that too often remains invisible, the deep and courageous path of healing that so many women quietly walk. In many families, women are expected to be strong, resilient, to hold things together no matter the cost. But beneath this quiet strength, there may live old wounds, sorrows, disappointments, and scars from the past that were never given space to breathe, let alone heal. According to Buddhist wisdom, true healing doesn't begin with hiding pain, but with turning toward it, gently, honestly, and without judgment. Imagine a woman sitting in silence, finally allowing herself to feel what she has spent years trying to forget. Maybe it's heartbreak from a love that was lost, regret over words left unspoken, or grief for the person she once was before life changed her. Facing these feelings can seem overwhelming at first, but it is in this act of brave acknowledgement that the door to transformation slowly begins to open. Buddhism teaches that self-compassion is the first and most powerful step on the path to healing. Rather than blaming herself for past choices or for not being enough, a woman can learn to offer herself the same kindness she might so easily give to others. She can ask herself, what is this pain here to teach me? What do I need to forgive in myself? How can I turn this suffering into strength? I have seen remarkable women begin this journey simply by allowing themselves to cry, to write in a journal, or to speak aloud the stories they have kept hidden for so long. Some have found healing in meditation, in mindful walks under old trees, or in the quiet practice of gratitude, thanking even the difficult moments for the wisdom they eventually bring. The true miracle happens when gratitude and forgiveness meet.
As a woman learns to honor the lessons of her past, not by denying the hurt, but by recognizing the growth it inspired, she finds herself growing lighter, freer. She may write a letter of thanks to her younger self for surviving hard days. She may look back at a painful relationship and, instead of only seeing betrayal, see the way it shaped her resilience and compassion. She may even be able to forgive someone who hurt her, not to excuse their actions, but to free her own heart from the chains of resentment. This is the powerful turning point. Forgiveness is not just something you give to others. It is a gift you offer to yourself, a conscious choice to release what no longer serves you. When a woman forgives, truly forgives, she reclaims her energy, her voice, her joy. She no longer walks burdened by the past, but instead steps into her present with new clarity and peace. And here is where the Buddhist perspective deepens. When a woman begins to heal herself, her energy shifts. This new, peaceful energy naturally radiates to everyone around her, her children, her partner, her friends, even her wider community. Like a pebble dropped in a still pond, the waves of her healing ripple outward, breaking old cycles of pain and offering something gentler, kinder to the next generation. I have witnessed families transformed by the healing of one woman. When a mother learns to love herself, her children often feel safer, more seen, more open to expressing their own feelings. When a wife lets go of old anger, her marriage may find space to breathe and begin again. Sometimes, even those who have passed on, parents, grandparents, seem to find peace through the work of a descendant who finally chose to heal what others could not. So, if you are a woman watching this, holding pain that feels too old or too heavy to bear, know this. Your courage to face it is not only a gift to yourself, but to everyone you love. Start with small acts of kindness toward your own heart. Trust that even the slowest healing matters. In Buddhism, every moment of compassion and self-awareness plants a seed of freedom, not just for you, but for generations. And to everyone, men and women, who have witnessed the healing journey of a woman you love, remember to honor her path. Offer patience, presence, and gentle encouragement. Healing is rarely a straight line, but each step toward freedom brightens the lives of all it touches. Let your healing become a quiet revolution. Let it be the light that changes not only your life, but the destiny of those who walk beside you and those yet to come.
Building relationships on spiritual harmony. Let's take a mindful pause together and reflect on something essential. What makes a love story truly last? In a world that glorifies chemistry and passion, the sparks, the butterflies, the thrill of new beginnings, we can easily lose sight of what actually sustains a relationship through the years. Buddhism offers us a gentle reminder. Lasting love isn't built on fleeting attraction or dramatic passion. Instead, it's built on shared values, spiritual presence, and the quiet, consistent practice of compassion. In other words, love that endures grows from deep spiritual harmony. How often do we chase the idea of the perfect partner? The one who checks every box, who lights up the room, who seems to complete us in every way. But as the years go by, many discover that perfection fades, but true connection deepens. When the excitement of early romance settles, what remains are the qualities that allow two souls to truly walk the path of life together. Spiritual harmony doesn't mean you have to meditate together every morning or believe in the exact same things. It means you share an inner direction, a devotion to peace, to honesty, to humility, and to loving from a place of wholeness rather than lack. Imagine two people, each valuing calmness, kindness, and honesty, both seeking growth not just as individuals but as partners. This shared intention becomes the silent foundation on which everything else rests. Think about your own relationships. Have you ever noticed how your inner state colors your experience of love? When you feel anxious or unsettled inside, even the sweetest relationship can start to feel shaky.
But when you are rooted in inner peace, you bring that energy into your connection. Love becomes a place to rest, not another battle to fight. This is why the Buddha and many teachers encourage us to look within. What qualities am I cultivating inside myself? Am I quick to anger, or do I listen with patience? Am I defensive, or am I open to understanding? The energy we bring is the energy we share. If we approach our relationships from a place of neediness or scarcity, we end up clinging, chasing, or resenting. But if we approach from a sense of inner abundance, our love becomes a generous offering, never a demand. I'm reminded of an elderly couple I once met at a Buddhist gathering. They had been together for more than 60 years. When someone asked their secret, the husband smiled and said, "We agreed a long time ago that only one of us could be upset at a time. If she was having a hard day, I'd be the calm one. If I lost my patience, she'd hold the space for me." They saw themselves as spiritual friends, Kalyanama Mita, walking side by side, not competing, not trying to change each other, but encouraging each other to be their best selves. Imagine if we all approached love this way, not as a means to fill our emptiness, but as a spiritual practice, an opportunity to grow, to forgive, to become wiser and more compassionate with every challenge. So, what does it really take to build a relationship based on spiritual harmony? It's the little things done with presence. Taking time to listen, even when you disagree. Choosing patience over pride. Asking, "How can I be more loving here?" instead of, "How can I win this argument?" Making time to reflect together. Maybe it's a morning walk, an evening pause, or just a simple blessing before bed. May we be kind to each other. May we remember what matters. Above all, it's about treating your relationship as something sacred. Like a garden, it needs regular tending. When weeds of misunderstanding pop up, pull them gently and early. When seasons of drought come, water your love with extra patience and care. And when flowers bloom, don't forget to admire them, to celebrate the grace that has grown between you. If you are in a relationship now, ask yourself, are we growing spiritually together or just growing older side by side? Are we cultivating peace or just sharing space? And if you're searching for love, ask not just who is out there for me, but who am I becoming in here? True love in the Buddhist view is never just about finding the right person. It's about being the right companion, one who brings peace, presence, and the courage to walk the spiritual path not alone, but together. Let your relationship become your practice. Let every challenge become a lesson. And let every day, no matter how ordinary, be a step further on the journey, not just of loving someone else, but of truly awakening together.
Love as a choice to create good karma. As we come to the end of this journey together, I invite you to pause and take one gentle breath, a breath of gratitude for everything you've lived, loved, and learned so far. Because if there's one truth I hope you carry from this reflection, it's this. Love and every relationship in our lives is deeply woven into the fabric of karma. But karma isn't just fate, it's a living story, and you are the author of every new page. So many of us think of karma as something set in stone, a destiny handed down from some invisible past. But Buddhism offers a more liberating perspective. Karma is created and transformed by the choices you make right now. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every time you choose compassion over anger, you are writing a new chapter for yourself and for everyone who shares your journey. So many of us think of karma as something set in stone, a destiny handed down from some invisible past. But Buddhism offers a more liberating perspective. Karma is created and transformed by the choices you make right now. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every time you choose compassion over anger, you are writing a new chapter for yourself and for everyone who shares your journey. Think about the people who have crossed your path.
Each one, whether they brought joy, pain, comfort, or challenge, arrived with a message, a lesson your soul needed. Some relationships are there to awaken your courage. Some are meant to heal old wounds. Others simply come to remind you how to open your heart again, even after it's been broken. And yes, there are those who simply walk alongside us for a while, teaching us how to love, to let go, and to grow. What does this mean for you right now? It means that nothing in your story is wasted. Not the loneliness, not the heartbreak, not even the struggles that seemed too much to bear. All of it is experience. All of it is precious. In Buddhist practice, we are reminded to honor our pain, not as a burden, but as a sign of the courage it took to risk love, to show up fully, to care deeply. Your scars are sacred. They show you dared to love in a world that sometimes forgets how. The most beautiful truth is this: karma is not fixed. It changes moment by moment with your willingness to forgive, to release bitterness, to act with kindness, even when it's difficult. You are never trapped by your past. Every new breath, every small act of love rewrites your future. If you're in a relationship right now, see your partner not just as a companion, but as a fellow traveler on the spiritual path. Your journey together isn't about perfection. It's about growing, supporting, and evolving side by side. Practice patience, gratitude, and presence. Treat every ordinary day as a sacred opportunity to create new, loving karma together. And if you're walking this path alone for now, remember, you are not incomplete. Solitude is not emptiness. It's a space for self-discovery, healing, and preparing your heart for the love that is truly meant for you. Trust that love will come, not because you chase it, but because you become a place where love naturally feels at home. Above all, let love be more than just an emotion. Let it be a conscious practice, an everyday choice. The way you listen, forgive, let go, and care, these are the real seeds of good karma. With each new day, you have the chance to transform not just your own destiny, but the lives of everyone you touch. So as you step forward from here, carry this with you. Your story isn't finished. The next chapter is always yours to write. Meet the past with reverence, the present with compassion, and the future with an open heart. May your journey in love and in life be rich with meaning, gentle with learning, and bright with the blessings you create along the way. If you found comfort or inspiration in today's reflection, I invite you to join us on this path of mindful living. Subscribe, share your story, or simply breathe deeply and carry this wisdom into your everyday life. Because love, in the end, is the karma we choose. One breath, one moment, one courageous act at a time.